So this is one of those articles that come out periodically. I'm not endorsing this website or anything. I'm just giving it as an example. And I was expecting that this would be an easy thing to find because usually you have these rankings of most dishonest professions because it's funny, right? And usually they'll put like the aerobics instructor and the used car salesman at the top of it. And I thought that would be easy to find. But with everything that's going on in the US right now, because this is like US articles I'm talking about, politicians have like taken over. So basically the problem is I wasn't able to get as clean cut an article as I wanted to. I wanted to just have the traditional aerobics instructor and used car dealer at the top of the most dishonest list, but not anymore apparently. However, a political lobbyist, of course, is number one, and used car salesman is actually number two on this particular list. And so it's this ongoing thing, this ongoing stereotype that everybody selling you a used car is trying to rip you off. Like there's the story of the old Richard Nixon political ad, not for him but against him, which said, "Would you buy a used car from this man?" You know, which that's a tie-in with the political stuff, right? But actually my own experience with used car salesmen really isn't like this. My family, I think, have encountered one of them who ripped us off. And all the others have been okay, actually. So it's a little bit exaggerated, just a tad. You have to do your research, of course, and you have to make sure you're not being used. But generally, do your research and it's not so bad. In any case, a whole bunch of people recently have made video games about this. So, just a few, right? Car Mechanic Simulator is not officially billed as this, but that's basically what it is. Once you get your car business going, your car mechanic business going, you basically flip cars. So you're running a garage, but you don't make as much money repairing people's cars as you do buying cars from a junkyard here, right? Or in this case, actually, this is a salvage auction. But, you get the idea. You buy old beat-up cars, you restore them, and then you resell them for a lot more. That's basically the model of the late game of Car Mechanic Simulator. And I've wanted to do a review of it for a long time, except the problem with that is that so many people have done it, it's kind of pointless. I'm probably wasting your time if I do a review of Car Mechanic Simulator. I have enjoyed messing around with it quite a lot over the years. But I don't think you want to watch me do that, because there are other people who have done much more impressive things with it, for really being honest. This is Car Mechanic Simulator 2021, which is one of the... I wouldn't even say it's one of the ultimate ones. It is basically the ultimate one. It's the most recent one, has the most features. There are a lot of things that I think many people would like to see added to it, like, for example, racing on a track or multiplayer racing, stuff like that, because you do race what you build on a drag strip. That's another way of raising some money for your business. Not as profitable as flipping the cars, but it is one other income stream, shall we say, for your business in the simulated business that you're running. There's also a sandbox mode, too. This picture is a little bit misleading because this is actually a photo location. This is not actually a place where you drive. But it is a pretty game. There are all kinds of things to love about it. The irony is that I'm not really into cars in real life anymore. But in video games, a whole other story. Video games, it's a great place to mess around with cars. All right, so let's take a look at what I'm really talking about. Car Trader Simulator. I only learned about this in my research for this video. I haven't played this very much. I have played the demo, and effectively it's about trading in used cars. It's entirely strategy-based. It's no driving or anything. So you have a map, if I can find the map, and they have pictures of fake cars that are based on real ones. They say it's all authentic, but it's not. But it's based on authentic stuff. So you have this map. This is really the best example. And, you have your different business locations around this city, which is based loosely on New York City. And the idea is you're kind of sleazy. You might be dealing in stolen cars, all this sort of thing. So it makes it look like a really, really, really sleazy profession, in line with the stereotype, right? Although you have the option of being successful without doing any of that. And I have tried it, and you can make money in the game playing that way. It's really no issue. And of course, your reputation realistically is pretty good if you don't do anything dishonest. Now, I, however, don't find this game as exciting as some of the other. I don't know if I find any of them exciting, but they're fun. Let's put it that way. And this version is so strategy-based, and it's so, I don't know, basic, that I don't find it to be as much fun as the stuff I was actually looking at for this video. A few years ago, there was this game that came out, Car for Sale, which seemed kind of pretty good at first, but then the reviews started coming in. As you can see, they're mixed. Basically, it was early access. Some people didn't like the fact that it was an early access game with a lot of flaws. But I don't mind that aspect of it so much. I think it's more bothersome that 2 years later, it's not really finished. The progress on it has been very slow. It has some very strong points. It's very easy to mod the cars, a la Car Mechanic Simulator, to increase their value compared with some other similar games. And you have a very, very wide choice of cars, even though they're fictionalized versions of real cars, all of them. There is a lot of potential in this game. Now, having said that, if you look at these graphics really idealize it, because a lot of the graphics don't look this good. A lot of the graphics are a generation or two behind, I would argue, especially around your initial dealer early game. It's a shame, really, because nowadays you can get graphics that are really good. Like, this is more typical. I mean, this isn't terrible, but it's a little bit iffy, And there are some weird mistakes. All of these games, as I understand it, were developed in Eastern Europe, mostly in Poland. This one, I have been trying to get information about Red Axe Games. I'll give it one more try right now. Red Axe Games. Red Axe Games. Let's see if they say where they're really located. There it is. Antalya, Turkey. So that's where Red Axe are based. And a lot of people wouldn't consider that Eastern Europe, just like a lot of people would say it's pronounced Turkiya. Still no word on whether the team are Turkish, but there we are. And so all of these people who are developing these games do research. And some of it is very impressive. They usually set the games in the US, and my sense is Car for Sale Simulator is one of those. And the issue is there are a lot of weird things about it which are the result of maybe doing the research part way, I don't want to be too hard on it because I like all the thinking behind this game and the wave of development that's followed it. Because the side effect of their slow development of this game is that there have been copycats who have tried to pick up the project or the ideas of the project and do their own thing, like their own version of it. So if we look at Used Cars Simulator, this is actually maybe the closest copy, the closest clone of Car for Sale. This is, I believe, Polish. It's from Dreamway Games and distributed by Playway, which is clearly Polish. And it's supposed to be set in the US. I feel the landscape is not realistic, and many aspects of it just feel too surreal to really represent any country very well. But as a game, it's quite good. Yeah, I mean, these graphics don't look like a real location. But, there are a lot of things about this which are immersive and fun and everything else. I don't mind it at all. The main disadvantage of it seems to be that you only have a small selection of cars. You can mod the cars pretty much, even though it's not very realistic as a form of modification. You mod the engine by changing the engine, or by adding nitrous, which of course is not really realistic at all. I mean, Car Mechanic Simulator is, light years ahead. And Car for Sale, my sense is it's also more realistic. But it's, for what it is, I like it. There is a crash model. So if you crash the car, it costs you money. If you steal cars, the police come after you. If you commit vandalism, people come after you. So it's, it has a better storyline, a little bit better depth to it than some of these others. And the other thing, of course, is that in your personal life, you can build your own house and, accumulate possessions and so on, like Car for Sale, although possibly a bit better. Its weakness, as I said, is limited number of cars and a small map, and you have to kind of imagine yourself somewhere other than America. Even though it's supposed to be America, it really doesn't feel like America at all. It's very, very... I wouldn't even say it feels like Eastern Europe either. It just doesn't feel like anything real. It feels like some hypothetical other world, But I enjoyed this game very much. My main complaint really isn't any of those things. It's really more that because it's also in development, constantly getting updated, it is still a little bit clunky to play, just a little bit. There are some aspects of how they've implemented the user interface that are not terrible, but are a little bit clumsy. And I will demonstrate this game, of course, along with some of these others. The game copying Car for Sale Simulator that I find the easiest to mess around with is Car Dealer Simulator, which is developed by this company called Garage Monkeys. They've been working on a lot of car-themed games lately, but this is the only one that they've actually released in any form yet. Interestingly, there is a car in this based on the Ferrari Testarossa, if I can find a picture of it, which also appears in Storage Hunter Simulator. And I've been trying to figure out the connection whereby they're sharing each other's models, and I haven't been able to figure out how that works. There is a similarity also in that both Storage Hunter Simulator and Car Dealer Simulator are based on an island, which is kind of squarish shaped. And so you're kind of isolated from the rest of the world in this special little place. And paradoxically, you're supposed to be in America. So I guess it's supposed to be an American island somewhere. But I would say that the research that was done into this is another Polish development team, as I understand it. The research was a lot better than the others that I looked at for this video. They have managed to capture the US as of the 1980s, but it's supposed to be a modern America, and that's where you kind of run into trouble. I mean, America is not, even with all the poverty that's going on in America now, with Detroit falling apart and everything, most of the country isn't this run down anymore. It's weird because the economy's terrible, but the country's in better physical condition than it was when I was a kid. It's a contradiction in a way. And they've portrayed it as like maybe even more rundown than it was in the 80s. And it's not really realistic. And there's also another thing about it is there are no good neighborhoods. Like every neighborhood is falling apart in Car Dealer Simulator. Everything is like a complete shambles. And it's also weird because as you upgrade your dealership becomes the nicest building in the neighborhood pretty quickly. Because it ends up being okay in it while everything else remains terrible. So that's kind of weird in a way. But of all these games, it's the easiest to play, the best designed, easiest interface. There's a lot that I like about it, and I've put the most hours into it. I've actually played this game, not 100 hours, but pushing that. Because I really find it enjoyable. And some of this, I think, they're going to develop further. Like, for example, they have this newspaper here, which I don't remember what part of the game that's from, actually. But, it's talking about the revival of the local motel in the town. And, of course, the motel is a disaster area when you're there. But that would be, of course, a plot. In the future, they can add that plot line of somebody developing that hotel. And so on. And there are a lot of other opportunities for more expansion. It's nowhere near as deep as Used Car Simulator or Car for Sale Simulator in terms of the other buildings in town other than your dealer, the car parts store, and the stuff that's very immediate to your business. Like in Used Car Simulator, you have a bar, you have a hospital, you have a police department because the police are looking for you if you steal a car, that sort of thing. And that depth is not in Car Dealer Simulator yet. I anticipate it will be because there already is a bar in it, just the bar isn't good for anything. Whereas in Used Cars Simulator, you can go there and arrange deals, to buy cars, get jobs, stuff like that. So they'll probably add that in Car Dealer Simulator eventually. In terms of the overall mechanics of the game, that's really the strong point of it, because I think that it needs, in terms of the storyline and everything, to be very much more developed if they really want to make it great. And while I was doing research also, I discovered a few other weird things. Deal & Wheeler claimed to be the world's most comprehensive car-selling simulation game. I'd never heard of it till today. It is by Art Neuron Games, or Art Neuron Development, who are Turkish, who have also developed Who is Dumb. And a lot of it hasn't been translated into English yet. The graphics are in the beginning stages, let's say. And it's already been out for as long as Car for Sale Simulator. So, I don't know. I don't know where this is going. I don't know how good a game this is. I haven't tried it. But it was something I discovered just today, because all kinds of people at the moment are trying to develop games like this. It's kind of a fad right now, if you will. I even found this. This is funny. Car Service Together. This sounds like a really stupid name for a game, but I think that they're copying Supermarket Together, which is a similar multiplayer game where you're running a supermarket with your friends. This is supposedly going to be a car service center, I guess a garage, but it's not finished yet, even enough for early access. They do have a demo. I just noticed this today. And I guess there's the used car aspect of it. Like you can pick up used cars and buy and sell them, I guess. So, Unfortunately, I can't review every single one of these, but I'll take a look at the basic ones. And oh, that's nice. Look at that. They got the camshaft simulator like in Car Mechanic Simulator. I like that. They don't have that much detail in Car for Sale, Used Cars, or Car Dealer. Their restoration aspect of Car for Sale, Used Cars, and Car Dealer is very, very, very crude and abstract. So you never know. Maybe Car Service Together will be more technical. Certainly looks it from the screenshots. Now, I wasn't actually going to include this originally, but I knew it existed. There's a series by Quadfix Games in Turkey, actually, not in Poland, called Car Dealership Simulator, and they just came out with Car Dealership Simulator 2 in early access on September 26th. And very undeveloped still. There's a lot of, I don't know, you could say, there are a lot of features missing still, and the graphics are very, very crude. Even if the cars are decently modeled, the overall picture is very incomplete, but it's in early access. And I really enjoy the gameplay in this. It's more detailed, certainly, than
car dealer simulator, as much as I like it. And it also is better, I would argue, than car for sale simulator. Mostly because the gameplay is smoother. It's still a little bit harder to play than car dealer simulator, if I'm being honest, but it's less refined. It's in early access. It's to be expected. The life simulation aspects of it are also more complete. See, if you get rich selling cars, you can buy stuff. Not just cars either. You even can live on a yacht, actually. Although I haven't gotten that far in the game yet. It is, in general, a really interesting take on this genre. And very, very cheap, notice. This is the most expensive game they sell on Steam, too, as far as I know. So if we look at what they have overall, Quadfix have, of course, the original car dealership simulator, which looks quite good, actually, although I initially thought it would be crude. If I look at what's actually in it, in some ways it has advantages over car dealership simulator, too. But I'm going to play through the current version because you have to draw the line somewhere, I think. I guess they're moving on from this point. Let's see what else they have. If I jump back, oh yeah, I've wanted this one for a while. This is the first of their games that I actually became aware of. This is Storage Dealer Simulator, which is their competitor to Storage Hunter Simulator and Storage Hustle. And it has a lot of features that I like. There are a lot of different ways to sell the stuff, not just through a pawn shop. And you can buy all kinds of stuff either to sell or for your own place. And that includes, crucially, cars. Because when it comes to storage units and barns and stuff like that, the cars are usually the most valuable stuff you find. And they're, for the moment, not in a Storage Hunter Simulator. Which is a bit frustrating. Also, I think the graphics are better in this. Even if the graphics in Car Dealership Simulator have a lot to be developed, these graphics, I think, are actually better and more realistic in a way than Storage Hunter. Storage Hunter tries to make America look too much like it's, still in the 80s and even more rundown than in the 80s. This is more realistic. Not spotless, of course, but, realistic. Now, weirdly enough, as you'll see, Car Dealership Simulator is not set clearly in the United States or anywhere. The measurements are in metric. And the only really American thing about it, strangely enough, is that the traffic lights are American traffic lights. They operate it just like the American traffic lights. They have traffic light cameras mounted on them, which are current technology in the US. And the crossing signals also are more or less what's used in America at the moment. So it's kind of surprising that a game that's not explicitly American is more realistic from that perspective than, for example, Car Dealer Simulator. It's weird, but I accept the limitations of this game because it's early access. I think that this will be an interesting playthrough, even though it's going to be short, because I don't want to dwell too much on all the stuff that's missing. I'll instead show what is not missing in this game and have some fun with one little example of what's to come in games about car dealing.
So we'll start with Car for Sale Simulator here. I wanted this more or less from the very beginning, but I waited for it to come on sale. It's all this stuff is expensive unless you wait for it to go on sale. And these graphics here are quite nice. I mean, this is part of a trailer that they did for the internet to promote the game originally. If these were the graphics in all of the game, there'd really be no complaints at all from my perspective. This is just good as anything. Now this is the main menu. One of the disadvantages is you can't have multiple save games, so I deleted my save game after I backed it up. so that I could start fresh. See, I can't continue because there's nothing to continue. The multiplayer requires you to have a car in the game, so I couldn't do that. There's the My Cars, and as you can see, no cars. Because I'm just testing this out here. My achievements for some reason have loaded, and I have no idea why. Why my save game is gone, but my achievements are up. And let's see what else we got here. Yeah, my profile only has my achievements. I don't know what's up with this. I mean, it's kind of weird. If we go to a new game, all your savable. I don't have any saves anymore. There's Palma time. That picture is great. If that was for the graphics, I mean, what would be the complaint, you know? But if we look at the actual graphics here, this is pretty cheesy.
Welcome to Car Simulator for Sale 2023.
See, and this is also a problem too. The interface is really clunky. Like he's, you know, gives you the introduction, but then no further instructions. And then you try and throw the trash in the trash can here, like in the regular game. Doesn't work because this is just the first scenario here. You have a trashed car here you can't use, which is annoying. And each of these pieces of garbage, when I tried to dispose of them with the E key, it took me more than one click of the E key. I kept having to click it again and again. Today it's no different. It just fights and fights and fights. There's something about the interface which just seems to be calibrated wrong. Also, why is that chair junk? I mean, that chair might be useful for something, you know, but you have to just get rid of it. The ground doesn't look particularly realistic. Like, everything is very, very beginner here. I mean, I've done better 3D graphics than this myself as a hobby. There's the open sign. I mean, another problem is finding where all that missing trash is. Like, I need 24 pieces of trash I have to pick up. Where are they? I'm walking around here and it looks like the ground is clear. This very unrealistic, cheesy ground. What am I doing here? I mean, I remember how I did this sort of when I did my own first game, but I've already forgotten. It's so counterintuitive, and I really don't like that about this. Okay, there it is. It's the boards on the building, which are not really realistic. I mean, the building is really amateurish. Like, this is like the kind of thing that you might see in the 90s, in the early days of 3D. And even then, I mean, a lot of the stuff was better. I don't know what anybody was thinking in this particular map. And you can't walk off the property when you're in the tutorial like this. Okay, so I'll try and use the PC. The PC, weirdly, is pretty well simulated. I mean, this is a pretty good fake PC, right? So you go on the web page, you can't sell any car because you don't have a car. One of the things that annoys me is that you can't buy cars online in the fake PC. Some of the other games are a little bit better in that way. Office edit mode is what they want you to go to. And I'm going to call this used car dealership Nixon's, after the Richard Nixon or anti-Richard Nixon ad. I will be Richard Nixon, I guess. And it's fighting me again. It won't let me put it in. Okay, now it's letting me put in Nixon's. I'm not going to change the font or the color or anything, just for the sake of simplicity. It charges me $10 to do that, which is weird. It seems like petty to me. Now they want me to go and open the place, but it won't let me do it from here. So I have to get out of this PC screen and go out on foot and do it by hand. So there we go. I'm open, but I don't have any cars to sell. So they're telling you to go into town to buy a car to sell. But you can take the bus, which is nice. It's nice that they have buses in this. Used Cars Simulator also has the buses, which is cool. Which, again, I think they copied from this, because this is the older game by about a year. This is the incredibly cheesy model neighborhood. And you can buy all sorts of vehicles. It's the nicest thing about Car for Sale Simulator is that they have a very nice selection of vehicles, even if they're often modeled in this really cheesy, cartoonish way. Like this delivery truck. I mean, that's not something you get in the other games, but the model is horrible. Like, there's a fire ambulance just passing by, that's cool. And then you have the rust on the cars, which is somewhat realistic, although not very well modeled. That car at a glance looks like it's based on a Skoda Felicia, but if you look more carefully, it's not. It's not even Volkswagen Group. That is a Fiat Tipo, actually, with the real badge from the look of it. Now, this is a Peugeot 206, and they actually have the real 206 name on it. They took the logo off, and they spelled it differently. So I have to negotiate with this guy. Again, this interface is horrible. What you're doing is simple enough, but they've not implemented this very well at all. And just to get car inspected and all this, you have to get all these achievements in the game. You can't just do stuff outright, and everything's in your way. And this tutorial is really clunky also. But he's trying to tell you the ABS is a big deal, which of course it is not on a car this new. But he's offering a price that with my budget, my cash up there in the upper right corner, I can actually afford this. So this makes sense to be my first car for resale. So I will take this Peugeot 206 and try to drive it back to the dealership. Bye. Get in the car, the E-key. And they tell you the controls. You do have working directionals on these, which is cool. And you have nitrous, which again ended up in Used Car Simulator. But you don't have a whole lot else. I would say this is a nice selection of controls for a simulated car. I'm trying to figure out the controls here, though, because for the umpteenth time, it doesn't work. My controller right now is not doing anything. My keyboard is not doing anything. I've managed to just change the camera. What is the matter with this thing? Another thing is the fuel consumption is all wrong. One of the things you'll see as I drive is that I'm going to run out of gas almost immediately. So I got to try and figure out how I'm going to turn into traffic here. My steering wheel works, my accelerator doesn't. I don't know why. What is the matter here? Okay, now it's going. Now it's going. My controller finally is starting to work. But I can't tell if my directional's on. Get out of the car. That wasn't even intentional, actually. Go back in. Let's try this again. Okay, my directional's on. Excellent. Here we go. Now, hypothetically, I think this is supposed to be in the US, but they have the white center line, which is wrong for the US. Alright, let's see. See if we can get out of here. Stop sign, which is, again, kind of cheesy model. Okay, I've got to check my map here, but I got to pull over so that I don't run into problems with traffic here. So let's pull over. It's just like looking at maps while you're driving. And I just got hit. Even though I'm not in the lane and they should have easily gone around me. I don't know if that's realistic or not. If people don't know how to drive. It's a matter of opinion, right? So what am I going to do now? I have a damaged car and I can't sell. Well, I mean, I can get this fixed. We'll see that in a minute. But first I have to get everything working so I can drive back. Another guy just rams right into me for no reason. I got to figure out how I'm going to get this back to the dealership, but also repair it somehow. Let's see. First of all, I got to figure out the route. Okay, I'll just go around the outer rim road here to the dealership. The car seems to still run, so let's just see if we can drive it over there. The speedometer over there, I think, is in kilometers per hour. I think. But these roads are like totally unrealistic in the way that these curves are so sharp for no real reason. And the body roll is way too much for a European car. I mean, this isn't an old Cadillac. This is like a little Persia. There's an argument to be made that a Cadillac wouldn't do this either, really. This is more like a van or a truck. But notice I'm already running out of gas. I've barely driven anything. I had like a quarter tank, and now like I'm running out. Let's see if we can find a gas station here. I think there's a gas station right next door to my dealership, actually. Yeah, so I'll pull into the gas station instead of going straight to the dealership, because there's no way I'm going to have enough gas. I'll cut across the grass here, because the driveway is all wrong. And then the car stalls out just as I'm rolling up to the pumps, which is incredibly lucky. I'll roll into place here, and I'll try to fuel it. But how do I fuel it? There's the damage again. What? How is this going to work? Okay, add fuel. Did that fill it, or did it give me some? Let's see. Okay, I guess it did. I guess it filled me up. That's weird. But let's see. I'm going to try an external view so I don't crash this time. Trying to get back into traffic here. The ground modeling is especially outdated, in my opinion. This could really be improved, actually. Alright, so let's get over to the dealership. I'm just going to turn in. I'm going to skip the turn signal, even though I'm not supposed to. And even though they tell you not to, I'm going to park in this little, I don't know, patio area here, because I have been able to sell cars out of here before, and it just makes more sense if I only have one car to have it right by the door, right? Alright, so let's go in and set this car up for sale, but I have to fix it first. So I have to get it over to the garage. Check on the map. They have more than one garage because they have a junkyard there, and then they have a tuning shop. And then I need the repair place, so the actual garage. It was just there, actually. I just drove by it. So how am I going to get over there? I could drive. See if I can drive over there. Actually, I can get it towed. I think. Can I? Yes, I can get it towed. Alright, so that was easy, but now I have to walk over there because I don't have a car anymore. Okay, so I think holding down the shift will make me run, but let's see if I can get a bus first. See if a bus will take me there. No, it won't. It'll take me next door to the gas station, but not to the garage. That's annoying. It seems to not make any sense. But I can actually walk over there, and it's not too far, actually. You can see on the map. Nothing's really too far. This is a very, very small map, so everything's actually within pretty easy walking distance, if we're being honest. You don't really need a car on this map, even though it's a car game. It's all a little bit silly, actually. Now, supposedly, you can go to other maps by going to the port. And maybe those have much better graphics than this, because I've seen a lot of screenshots of this game which look just fine. I'm really surprised that the graphics are like on this map, the definitive basic starter map, are so bad. I don't really understand that. Like, why does it look like this? You know? I mean, the dandelions there are modeled okay, but it's kind of like the only thing that they seem to have spent time on. It's really weird. Alright, so the car's already in the lift. I have to tell this mechanic here, repair the fender. So there he goes, except he's not there. He zips over there, unrealistically. He fixes it, zips back without using his legs, and I have my car back. So let's see if I can actually get in the car and drive. So I'll try to back up. It won't back up, it won't back up, it won't back up, it won't back up. What's the matter here? Okay, and finally it's going. Let's see if I can drive it back to the dealership and sell it. Engine sound effects aren't particularly good either. I mean, almost everything in this game is mediocre, which is a shame because in principle, I really like it. I really like what they were trying to do with this game, but it seems like they never finished anything. Like, I feel like almost like I could do better than this, which is a shame. Because the ideas are very sound, I think. It's a very well thought out game, at least. See, I'm wobbling all over the place. I don't know what's up with that. Bad calibration of the controls, maybe. Alright, let's pull in and see if I can sell the car. The tires are nicely modeled, but like it doesn't make sense because everything else looks so awful. Let's see. Go back to the fake PC, I guess, but I'm going to double check their instructions. Click on the website and put it on sale. Yeah, okay. We sell it off the internet, even if we can't buy off the internet, which is weird. Okay, car for sale. Okay. Now, you can add photos, but the problem is I don't have the camera yet. You get the camera later in the game, I think, don't you? Yeah. Like, I don't have a camera, so I can't add the photo, even though they're telling me to. Yeah, so I don't even know why they're bringing it up. So, guess it's on sale. It'd be nice if I could find a camera control somewhere, if there's some built-in camera, but I think you actually have to have the camera, unfortunately. There's really no getting around it. Upgrades? No. Just for your parking lot. Car depot, that's just where your cars are stored. There's a little parking lot next to your garage. Yeah, this is really annoying. They're telling you to take a photo and you don't have the ability to do it at this stage of the game. All right, let's see how much. I should charge too much for the car on purpose to make a profit, because they'll probably negotiate it down anyway, and I won't end up getting this much, but I'll overstate how much money I want, and hopefully I'll get just the right amount. All right, what do I call this? I'll use their name for the Peugeot 206. Put it on sale. All right, now it's actually on sale. I finally got it to work. All right, so we'll get out of here. We wait for the customers, because the customers unrealistically show up immediately. And I have 1, 2, 3 customers, potentially, who might be interested in this car. So let's go talk to them. Unless they're a group. I don't think they're a group. I don't think that's part of the simulation. I think you get one buyer at a time. Let's see what this guy says. He doesn't even want to negotiate. He just wants to buy it. That sounds incredibly easy. Sell. All right, so we have made a little bit of a profit. We're now up over $8,000 there. And it's already getting dark because the time scale is super fast in this game. So let's just call it quits at this point. I think I've shown you enough of this one. I wish this game were more than it is. I am fond of the basic principles of it, for sure. Leaving a review? I don't want to give them a negative review. I wish them good luck, actually. I hope they develop this. But I don't want to discourage them. They have some DLCs out already. I would say they should work on the game, not on the DLCs. This is a classic criticism of game makers, right? Alright, let's get out of here. Used Cars Simulator will be next. If I sound different, it's because I'm experimenting with a new microphone. So there's the splash screen, and this is the main menu. And pretty nicely developed visually. That Ford F-Series there is not called that in the game, but basically a early 70s F-Series. And we will not play my mature game. We'll start from the beginning. So
As I've said before, I think that this is slightly better developed than Car for Sale, but it's definitely based on it. Like, most of the same things that are in Car for Sale are in this game, pretty much. Although there's a lot more in this game with your character having the option of becoming a criminal and stealing cars. So, they are admitting that this is early access, which is good because it's going to take a while, I think, to fully work out the bugs and everything. It is still a little bit clunky. I'm not overwhelmingly impressed with it, although I like it. I guess I like it. It's very simplified in certain ways. They're saying you only have 16 car models, which you do notice when you're playing that you're kind of inhibited a bit. So in this opening scene, you're in a bar. It looks nothing like an American bar, except for that it has an American flag up. And basically, like, people are chatting, and you're supposed to talk to the woman over in the corner, but I'm exploring the bar a little bit here to show you everything. So that you have these guys here. They're usually there. This woman is usually here. And there's a bartender. You talk to him later. And yeah, so basically this looks like a Polish bar. This doesn't look like an American bar. Except for the ice cooler, actually, and the American flags. It's basically not American at all. But, you know, I've said before that this game doesn't really have the visuals of America. But it's kind of like not really Poland, not really the US, not really anywhere. It's really just this parallel universe of sorts, a video game universe. And it's suitable for the game. The game is very immersive, I think. One cool feature I noticed in my experimentation is that this ladder here actually works. You can actually go up on the roof of the bar here. Now, what the purpose of this is, I'm not clear, because there's nothing really to do up here. But it is cool that you can actually go on the roof of the bar, in a way. And then the back you can sometimes get scrap for your repair work and so on. It depends on what stage of the game you're in. You notice that ramp over there, and it's kind of like in a Buster Keaton movie. You know it's going to be used. The utility pole is kind of American looking, although still kind of unconvincing. This is a very Polish looking scene. See, there's the ramp. That ramp will be used, as you'll see.
Those ramps also make an appearance in Car Dealer Simulator, but they're actually much more numerous in that game.
They're not really there for anything but gameplay. So you talk to her, and she dares you to use the ramp. And of course, you can already figure out that she's going to get you in trouble, because that's, you know, obvious. So you take the car, which is of course her boyfriend's car and not her car, and you wreck it in this stunt. And of course it's based on a Lancia. They've fiddled around with the letters in the name. And it's already totaled, actually. You start out with it already basically totaled. But you take it and you do stupid stuff with it. Basically, you do the jump. The gameplay of these vehicles is not great, actually. And of course, one of the things, if you know anything about even simulated cars, you can't jump from here. You have to go up the road and get some momentum going. And here you'll see right away the handling of these vehicles is really not very developed. It's very wobbly. See that? Very much too soft for a performance vehicle. And pretty much all of the vehicles are like wobbly and weird like this. I think that they'll probably refine that and get rid of that problem. But see, I'm gonna not hit this right, so I have to try, turn around, do this again. If this were BeamNG, I probably wouldn't have any trouble with this. But you see, I'm wobbling all over the place because the controls just don't work correctly. They overreact and they underreact, and the car has way too much body roll. So Here, we'll try it again. You can do the first-person perspective, too. Here, I'm mostly using it because it might be a little bit easier to control the car this way, maybe. But I can't really get going fast enough, see? So I tumble there through the billboard, wreck the car further. And you can reset, luckily. If you get stuck on your roof like this, there's a reset feature there, the reset car, the Y button there, which really means the Y button on your controller. It doesn't mean the Y key. You can also use the R. Here, I've reset it. And now I'm going to take this even further wrecked car and try to do the jump again. So it's really struggling. You can see it. In real life, it probably wouldn't even still run at this point. But here we go. Got to go back to the tunnel here. I guess you could also go back into the tunnel and get more of a run, but the real problem here is the final turn because the handling is so bad. Okay, up the ramp. Okay, that's a better jump there. Right into the rocks. But, crazily enough, the brakes actually work even though the car is wrecked. So I did the full Florida man there with the car. I jumped it, and I wrecked it. And now I'm going to get in trouble, of course, because that's what always happens to Florida Man. So I pull the car into the same parking spot it was in, and of course the boyfriend is outside the bar. Go back to his girlfriend. Yeah. He doesn't have anything more to say. But now you have to go talk to the bartender. He gives you your first tool, which is just a rubber mallet, but the rubber mallet in Used Car Simulator is your universal fixing tool that you use for pretty much everything. So it's not just about body work, you use it for fixing everything on the car. So this is a way in which it's very, very abstract compared to Car Mechanic Simulator, where you have to actually know about how cars work. But one of the catches is you have to combine the rubber mallet with scrap metal that you find around the map. So here I'm picking up my first scrap metal behind the bar, which luckily just happens to be here. And once I have this, I can actually do the repairs. And as I said, this is very crudely simulated. This even works on the engine, actually. If the engine has something wrong with it, you hit it with a rubber mallet and it automatically gets fixed, as long as you have the correct scrap metal. Now here, is there anything else to say? No, not really. One of the things that's weird, you can't really do here. Here I'm going to check the settings to make sure my controls are set up right. Yeah. Had to make sure that I can use the right mouse button to get the hammer. One of the things, weirdly enough, you can't do here is replace all those broken windows. But just as weird, the boyfriend doesn't care if the windows aren't fixed, or if all stuff is missing from the car, just as long as you fix what's on the car. So that tail light is not going to be replaced. I can fix the bodywork around it, but I can't really do anything else. Now I can, of course, miraculously fix the rest of the car, even though I don't have the parts. But I can't fix the things which are missing. The front bumper will remain missing. That tail light will remain missing. All this stuff will remain. Oh, wait, I'm wrong about the bumper. Whoops. I just misstated. I don't know where that bumper came from, but somehow I fixed it. This bumper is less mysterious because there it is. Door is obviously still there, so I can fix that. Fix that.
So the car is not really fixed, but for the purposes of this scenario, it's pretty close. It'll probably do. Better condition than I found it, basically. And you get the green color coding there to let you know. But it's because I don't have the tail light, I can't really fix that tail light. Can make it look better than it looked, essentially. Yeah, that bumper there still kind of baffles me. I don't know how I did that. Maybe it's considered part of the unibody, maybe? Normally the bumpers are separate in Used Car Simulator, actually. You have to buy them. This is the weird thing. You have to buy all the body parts, but you don't have to buy any engine parts. You just buy an engine as if it's a single part. And I would imagine that in the near future they'll come up with something fancier than that. Because it is kind of weird in a way. Now, if I go back to the bartender here, going to the hands again, say hello to the bartender, and you make small talk. He has nothing to say for now. So I go back and talk to the boyfriend. Forced to wash the car, which of course you wouldn't want to do in real life because it doesn't have any windows in it. But over here is a pressure washer, and if you drive the car over to it, you can wash it off. Although, again, in real life this wouldn't work because all the water would go into the car. But let's just take some artistic license here. That taillight is still broken. And over to the pressure washer. And these pressure washers will, of course, make plenty more appearances in the game because, obviously, if you're going to sell cars, you want to wash them first. So, again, the same color coding for cleaning as there would be for repair. Getting the unibody clean on these cars can actually be difficult in the current version of the game. It can take a long time to get all the bits. Car Dealer Simulator is similar, actually. Although they have a system where you color code on the car to figure out how you're doing. Basically, it's to compensate for the limitations of the computer graphics generally, because it can be hard to see things, actually. So I'm still trying to get all the dirt here, because it's not as obvious as it would be in real life. The bumpers seem to be the most problematic thing. Not completely sure why. Okay, front bumper is clean. And the back bumper. Go up and down it like this, I guess. Yes. And one of the mirrors there seems to be still dirty. Okay. So now the car is washed, and in real life the interior would be soaked. Give it a little bit more here. Try and get it up to 100%, which can be very challenging sometimes. Just blast it and blast it and blast it and blast it, and eventually it goes to 100. It helps to get every single surface of whatever it is. That's usually how it works, which is a little bit realistic. Although this much difficulty is maybe a little bit more far-fetched. So the unibody is still not completely cooperating here. Alright, let's go back to the boyfriend again and see what else is going to go on here.
Task is completed, that means, and you get this quest log. And you get the quests here and there as you move around the map. It's not always the same progression, although I'm going to try and go for a conventional early game progression here to demonstrate the game. So if I go back to the bartender, he directs you to talk to an old man in the bar, and he will offer you his shed and ultimately his business, which is much like what happens in Car Dealer Simulator. Although not what happens in Car for Sale, notably. So, you have to go get food here, which he's offering, and the beer. Unlike in Car Dealer, unique to this game, you have these physical needs of hunger, thirst, and even urination, actually. So it's comparable to The Sims in that way, but they make it gross. I think probably what's going on here is that they're imitating The Last Holiday, which is a Czech game which is designed to be really disgusting and, crude and everything. So there is a certain amount of that in this game. So he's offering you his pickup truck, but only to borrow. So you have to drive to the shed with the pickup truck, which is an F-Series, under a different name. And then he gives you his flatbed truck, basically for salvage. So it has a winch on it, it has ramps. And this is very similar to the vehicle in Car Dealer, actually, for collecting different things. So then you have the bathrooms, of course. So I'm not going to show this. As I said, this is basically a 70s Ford F-Series, but they don't call it that because they have licensing issues. The animations on this are kind of crude. Like, the wheels are too small and the steering is too radically, I don't know, strong. Maybe it would be the word. The wheels go too far around. There are a lot of cheesy things about it. So, this is the map with a GPS navigation feature. You can do it manually, or the quest will give you the correct route. In this case, the quest has given us the route, so we're going to drive from the bar out to the old man's shed, which will become our garage, and not a dealership, but a base of operations. Later on in this game, thanks to recent updates, you can buy a dealership eventually, but normally the way it works in the early stages of the game is you buy cars, you fix them up at the garage, and then you drive them to the customer, or carry them on the flatbed truck, because although you don't get the pickup truck, you do get the flatbed truck, which includes ramps and a winch, so you can take whatever scrap cars you find, or buy. Roads, especially one going to Los Angeles, which is a post-apocalyptic hellscape of a city in this, have a lot of scrap cars around them, so you can take those cars back to the garage and sell them after restoration. But this road is relatively clean, so it's just a way of getting from point A to point B. None of these roads look remotely American, though. They can try to put a sort of American desert landscape around them, but the signage is European, the road markings are European, the reflectors at the side of the road are European, everything's European. So it's very unconvincing if they're trying to make this America. The street lamps, notice, are also European, Eastern European especially. Like, almost nothing is American in this. even though they want you to think this is America. So there's the garage. Really just a gas station, because there's another building which is a proper garage where you can get stuff done that you can't do in your own shop. Weirdly enough, you can't change rims in your shop, or tires, which is really weird. You have to take it to a third-party garage for that. But anyway, here I have to find my turn. I always miss this turn. Notice how my GPS is telling me the right thing, but I've missed it entirely. This side street or side road is actually very hard to identify visually. I'm using the external camera here because it makes it easier to find, but it's very tricky. I mean, if you use the GPS, you can do it, but even the GPS is a little bit confusing. So here it is, a right turn. I use my turn signal. Just like Car for Sale, the turn signals in Used Car Simulator work. That's increasingly the case in driving games of all sorts. That scrap car actually isn't salvageable. There are a whole bunch of scrap cars you see in this game which you can't actually salvage, which I find irritating, because the question is, why have them there if they're not part of the game, given that you're flipping junk cars for the most part in the game. Okay, there's the flatbed truck. Just dropped out of the sky. And we have to find a place to park here. Now we're really supposed to meet a guy up at the electric substation up the road, but I'm going to get out and take a look at the shed first here. There's the flatbed truck. Really a salvage truck. It has the ramps and the winch. And it's drivable, of course. One of the things about it is that it's pretty much invincible. You don't have to repair it. The other vehicles in this, including the pickup truck, all have damage models. So, as we saw earlier, you can wreck them pretty badly, even if you can fix everything with a rubber mallet, which is kind of silly. So, one of the pitfalls is if you rebuild a car and sell it, you have to be careful not to total it on the way to the delivery. And I've actually done that before in this game. So there are the ramps on the flatbed. And one of the things we can do is we can go to the meeting at the substation in the flatbed truck if we really want to. We could put the pickup on the flatbed if we really wanted to do it that way. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up the grounds here, because just like in Car for Sale Simulator, one of your first tasks is to clean up the grounds, actually. But I think I can't decide what I'm doing here. I think I'm just going to go up to the substation and get that over with, because he gives us another assignment or two. I'm trying to follow the storyline here, if I can. No. Here's the substation. They're saying power station, but I mean it honestly, this is a substation. A very European-looking substation with a very American-looking van sitting next to it. So you can't actually complete this scenario without parking the pickup truck exactly on the spot there. So parking it on the road won't do, so we have to maneuver it into the parking space. Alright, so what do we get now here? I'll go and fix up the shed, as I wanted to do already. But it's just as well that I waited, because there might have been a problem with flags, given that this is an early access game. It might not have worked properly if I had cleaned it up before arrival.
Or really return.
So let's jog over to the shed again and see what we can do about the cleanup, just like in the opening scene of Car for Sale. I think this is better implemented, though. It's not weird. Like, it basically, the cleanup works the way it would work throughout the game here. So we pick up the garbage bag, and we can do a little throw model here, a lot like some first-person shooters, actually, with the hand grenades. And pull the boards off the doors of the shed. And can we get in? Yes, we can. And then here we have all the stuff we need. So that jerry can is actually, I haven't been able to get it to work. I think you can get working jerry cans in Used Car Simulator, but so far I haven't used them. A lot of the clutter in this workshop is non-functional at the moment. I mean, probably they'll get to making it functional eventually, but at the moment much of that stuff is not usable for anything. So let's take all the garbage here and put it in the dumpster. Again, a European dumpster, more or less. There are a lot of things I like about this game, but the research that went into this game seems to be practically non-existent. They just put Poland into a desert, basically. At least I'm 90% sure this is meant that they're using Polish models. Certainly not American. Okay, soda can in. And the soda can. Now, of course, you can fiddle with the brand, just like in Car for Sale and Car Dealer. I'm going to call this Nixon's, just like before. Pay $50 for this name change as opposed to $10. And there we go. Let's see if there's anything else I can do with this. It doesn't look right. I'd like to come up with a better design. I like to make the background yellow or something and make the text blue or black or something. I don't know. I don't like how this looks. But maybe there's not a lot I can do with it. Again, the game is not completed yet. The developers admit that. Back to the guy and talk to him. So, basically you eat and sleep over in the new shed, which, if you were looking carefully, has a very beat-up old bed in it. Later on in the game you can get a house, but in the early stages you sleep in the shed with whatever you're working on. So, over in town, there's a little supermarket, very crudely modeled at this stage of development in the game. And notice that you don't have to take the flatbed truck over there if you don't want to, because just like Car for Sale Simulator, there are buses in Used Car Simulator, which again is sort of unrealistic for America. You don't get too many rural bus routes in America. Some city buses, true, like in a really big city, but not rural bus routes like in Poland, or the European Union more generally. And, of course, the signage is all European again. The schedule is right on the bus stop sign, just like in Europe. But you click on the sign, you can go wherever you want on the map. So I just took the bus in an abstracted way to the supermarket.
in this very European-looking town, or at least very Eastern European-looking town. And they have not completed the modeling here. They have like chicken drumsticks on a shelf with no refrigeration, and then they have these water bottles. You actually do need both of these things. You need drink and food to survive in Used Car Simulator. For some reason, they've put all of these Rubbermaid containers around the supermarket to simulate goods. I don't know why they did that. They probably should have come up with something more convincing, but oh well. So you can basically just buy chicken drumsticks here, beer, and water bottles. And if you use the vending machine, you can get energy drinks also. So all these snacks are abstract. They're not there. They're, just scenery. Maybe in a future version of the game, you'll have snacks actually activated here. So you can see the modeling here is very, very rudimentary. You can get their energy drinks, though. And you pay everything at the shelf. So if you go to this guy, you can ask him what he sells here, but he doesn't really sell you anything. You just get the stuff from the shelf. It automatically deducts the money and you're on your way. And it goes into your inventory, much like in Minecraft and any number of other games like that. And you can see a beat-up old car over there. I wish that this car here were for sale. It's not. It's a very early 80s Ford LTD, which eventually became, later in the decade, the LTD Crown Victoria, when they gave the LTD name to a smaller car. But it's not part of the game yet. Okay, so again, we have a blank schedule that if you click, will give you control of the bus. So you go to the correct bus station you want to go to, you click on it, and off you go. We're back at the power station with this European bus shelter and a European everything in America. So back to the power station, which also looks like it's from Europe, Eastern Europe. And this rusty motorhome that in real life would not be rusty because it would be made out of aluminum. We run past it, and then we head over to the shed again. The shed actually doesn't have running water. The shed has an outhouse, which again would be realistic for America 100 years ago, or even maybe 70 or 80 years ago, but it's not really true of America today. Okay, so we eat the chicken. We drink the water. And what else can we do here? Let's see. We can check out the computer. And the computer has a selection of cars here. You can't actually buy the cars, crazily enough. You can find out where they are and what they cost. And you can head out to where they are by some other means to buy the cars. They handily give you an idea of what happens if you completely restore the car in terms of the value. So you get an idea of whether it's a good deal, not just in terms of how it compares to other cars of the same model, but also compared with what money you could get in profit after restoration. So if I get in the truck here, the flatbed truck, I could go into town and find the cheapest car, which of course is the one that goes for less than $1,600. And when I restore that, I can get a nice profit. So I will go and try and find that car in town, in the very European-looking town with the flatbed truck. There are all these time attack stations in the back roads here in case you're building race cars, but one of the problems with this game is the only thing you can really do to prep a car for racing is to add nitrous, which only really works in a straight line, or give it better tires at the third-party garage. You could maybe give it a bigger engine in some circumstances, but you can't mod the engine. You can only re-engine. So it's not anywhere close to as sophisticated as either Car for Sale or certainly Car Mechanic Simulator. Car Mechanic Simulator, the more I play these games, the more I appreciate how nice it is.
But as I've said before, Car Mechanic Simulator, deservedly, is very, very successful. So many people have done videos on it that I feel a little bit iffy about doing it myself. It seems like it's a waste of energy, really. There are plenty of other, probably better videos about it online than anything I could do. Alright. Notice still the handling is really wobbly and weird on the flatbed truck, just like it is in every other vehicle. I'm using an Xbox controller here to drive it, and it seems like even though that's not a wheel and pedals, it should work, because in all the other driving games I have it does, and this is just really sloppy. I really don't like this. Alright, it looks like the car might be around the corner. Yeah. But that red dot is pointing me in the wrong way, because I have to turn right here, not left. Okay, so it's this little car here, which is basically in breathtakingly horrible condition. And I will have to find a place to park the flatbed while I negotiate the price with the owner. This is, of course, exactly the same system as in Car for Sale. You go straight to the owner and you talk to them in their driveway. This is also the way Car Dealer Simulator works. So, talk to this guy, and I will try to negotiate the price down even lower to increase my profit. He won't be happy with that. He says, no way. So I offer him a little more. And he agrees. So then I get this very cheap car that I can then clean up. Because as you can see, it's a wreck, which is the point. Because I can get a big margin after I restore it. Some of these cars will actually drive with the doors off and so on. But I'm going to just try and put it on the flatbed and be on my way here. One of the weird things is that if one of these cars is like a burned out shell of a nothing car, if you get into it, the radios still work. Like, all of these vehicles have working radios no matter how bad the condition is, and they'll continue playing music even if you're walking close to them when the car is not theoretically running. So I am assuming that that is simply a symptom of the game being still unfinished. I'm assuming that will not be the case when the game is done. Now, let's see. I have the ramps down. That's going to be at an angle. In real life, I would obviously not attempt this. But sometimes it will steer the car up your ramp if you connect the winch. Now, let's see if I can drive it. Aha! I can drive it. I'm reinforcing what I said earlier, that if the car looks like it's undrivable in Used Car Simulator, sometimes that's not true. Sometimes you can actually drive it. So here, I don't have the struggle with the winch. I can just steer this car right up the ramp, even though it doesn't look drivable. And once it's on the flatbed, then I can just get on the flatbed and drive home. So, here we go. Take the ramps up, which is frequently something that can be forgotten. And we'll be on our way here. You don't have to lash the car down, actually. It usually stays in place. Although I have dropped them from time to time. The physics are realistic enough so that if you drive stupidly enough, the car will fall off the truck. I have had that happen. So don't drive stupidly, I guess is the lesson. The traffic is not very smart here, although it could be worse. The street lights are all wrong, especially for America. The signage is a mess. Generally, these streets are not laid out very well or very realistically. You kind of have to adapt to the chaotic mess that they are. They do have American speed limit signs, weirdly enough. That's one of the only realistic things about these roads from an American perspective. The speed limit signs are correct, in miles per hour. an exact design you see in America, but not in Europe. But everything else on the and the stop signs are the same because in Europe they're the same. But everything else is wrong. And the buildings are obviously wrong. I mean, these buildings are not like what you would see in America at all. This is what you see in Europe, especially Eastern Europe. The building over on the left might pass for American, but that's really desperate, I think. Yeah, there's not been a lot of attempt at making it look real. Not much effort went into it, but it looks better than Car for Sale. The graphics at least look semi-modern, and that haze is nice too. It's a nice realistic touch. And the road surfaces vary a lot too, which is interesting. Different qualities of asphalt, some stuff's, dirt, And the cars and trucks handle realistically depending on what you're on. So that's a nice feature. But the handling more generally is a mess. You just wobble all over the place, pretty much. Steering's really jerky. See that? There's no smoothing. And here I missed the turn again. Let's see if I can get my truck turned around here. The external camera helps me a little bit here. Can I do this? Let's see. Alright, now it's sort of working. But see, the steering's all jerky, and even though I'm using an Xbox controller, it normally isn't this bad if I'm playing BeamNG, for example, or Car Mechanic Simulator, for that matter. Let's see if we can park somewhere here and get the car off the truck. That's the parking in early game at this shed is very minimal. You just basically have to adapt to it. Those property lines don't actually affect gameplay, I don't think. You can park off the property a little bit, and there's no consequence of that, as far as I know. Alright, so let's see if the car... Yes, car sort of works. Yes. So, they don't model you. Notice there's nobody in the driver's seat. So your character has no model at all. The directional works on the side that I have a working light. Okay, so let's see if I can get these doors open. Yes, it made it. Okay, get that door open. And we drive in. It's gonna work. Yeah, I guess we're in. So that car is completely wrecked. And here this summary gives you an idea of what you have to fix, which is practically everything here. Weirdly enough, the interior isn't modeled very much in this. The steering wheel, weirdly enough, you can change, but most of the interior is kind of irrelevant. You get one of these junk cars and you don't have to do anything with the interior to bring the car up to saleable quality. One thing that's semi-realistic is that when you're looking for used parts, you go in the used car, you can't always get everything that you want on the day that you want it. So it can sometimes take a couple of days or more to get the parts that you need to finish the project. I would assume that later in the game, this would be a reason to put several cars under restoration at once, so that if you don't have parts for one of them, you might have parts for a different one. So you finish them at different rates. But you have a steady stream of used cars going out the door that way. But here I'll fix what I can fix in the short term. So if I try the rubber mallet again, my problem is I don't have a lot of scrap, so I can fix a few things here. But then I run out of scrap and I can't use it anymore. Well, let's see. I'm getting some luck out of it. I thought I was going to run out a lot sooner here. Now I'm out of scrap. So luckily there's a lot of scrap just sitting out in the desert around the shed here, but I'm going to sleep first to wait for those parts to arrive, because one of the purposes of sleep in Used Car Simulator is that you can wait a few hours for the parts to arrive. And when the parts are delivered, they're dropped over in this corner of the yard here in this really chaotic way. But it looks as if, even with my sleep, they have not arrived yet. The question then is, what do I do instead? If I go in the computer, I can see when they're predicted to arrive. So I can go to the shop. My orders, so the right front door will arrive in 41 game minutes, which is, of course, not 41 real minutes. Maybe I shouldn't say of course, but in the case of Used Car Simulator, they do not give you real time. Time is sped up. So if I get in the flatbed truck here, question is, what can I get done while I'm waiting? I guess maybe not much. I was thinking maybe I could take it somewhere and maybe buy another car or whatever, but I'm short of cash here. If I could get more scrap around the property, that might be one way of handling this. Continue working on what can be worked on with the mallet. I can't decide what I'm doing here. Shop, well, this is not helping me at all. Of course, I couldn't order a lot of the stuff I needed. Actually, I need more than that door. When is that door going to get here? See, one of my problems, too, is that door is going to be here any minute. Whereas if I go around looking for scrap to finish the malleting on this vehicle, I'm going to lose time because that door is going to be sitting in the parking lot when it could be installed. I'd really like to buy all the other parts, so like the hood and all the stuff that's missing. I don't like that I only have that door on order. See what else I can buy here. Well, I can get the glass. Looks like it'll let me do that. I don't know. Let's see. Problem is I already have, oh no, I don't. Ha. I guess I can. Guess I can buy it. Good. Like the other parts, it's not going to arrive quickly, though. That's going to be a while before it gets here. What else do I need? I need the hood. I obviously need the hood. But I don't think the hood is on sale yet. Let's see. Lights, maybe? Yeah, let's fix the lights. One of the weird things about lights in this game is that you just buy the bulbs and they'll qualify as a whole assembly, which of course is not the case in real life at all. Car Mechanic Simulator goes to the other extreme in that, like, the only way to fix a light is to replace the whole thing. We got 6 on order, so it's mostly bulbs. Doors, the door is still not here. I don't know, maybe we just wait for the door since the minutes are not really minutes. This car is not going to be done, though, in 2 seconds. It's going to take me a while to get all this stuff together and get it running and cleaned up and ready for sale. Ready to collect. Let's see if it is. So if we go out to that parking lot space there, just gets dropped out of the sky into the parking lot for no apparent reason other than that I've ordered it. I bring the door back to the garage and I attempt to install the door. So if I get this pointer in the right position, it should say assemble. Why is it not doing this? You are overloaded. Yeah, that's another realistic thing. If you carry too much stuff in this game, you can't walk at a normal speed. Of course, they let you carry way more than anybody could actually physically carry in real life. But they do limit you. You can't just carry an unlimited amount of junk. Alright, so I finally got it on there. Apparently it came with the window, so it cuts down my need to buy windows here. It looks like I still need a windshield and a hood and a whole bunch of other junk. And unfortunately the other stuff is not here, but what I can do, I can finally collect that scrap I was talking about. I kept putting that off, thinking I can do something else, but now I have nothing better to do. I'll get these scraps. I'll get to work on the car with the rubber mallet, and we'll see what kind of condition we can get it into. Also, this is part of the quest. If I collect 55 pieces of scrap from the property, I get a little credit in the quest there, in the upper left, you can see. So I do have to find the 55 pieces, but fine with me, I want to have at least that to work on the car. So, it's helping me here. Okay. The red pointer. Got that. I have 3 more. Alright, so now it's telling me to repair the damage to the car, which of course is what I wanted to do anyway. I think the reason it's reading 82 there is that the car is missing parts altogether. Like, I still don't have the hood. I'm still missing the windshield. There's a lot of stuff I still have to put on the car. So the question is, how am I going to find all that junk? The problem, again, as I said, is the parts store doesn't have all the parts all the time. So you waste a lot of time waiting for stuff to be available. I could sleep and see what happens when I wake up, whether there's anything available in the shop then. I can't see any other way of doing this, really. And the parts have also arrived, which is another positive thing. So let's see if we can put this windshield on. Rear windshield? Huh, I thought I had... Yeah, actually, this is coming back to me. I did order that earlier, didn't I? It just had not been delivered yet. Okay, so we fixed the tail light just by installing the bulb, because that's how it works in Used Cars Simulator. Take another bulb. The main difference between these bulbs isn't compatibility, but quality, because apparently you have to scrounge around for the best quality bulbs you can. I guess all these lights are fixed and just look like they're not because they're so dirty, I guess. So this box here is your storage. Because you can store spare parts in your shed for later. So I guess all these bulbs are going to go into storage. I overestimated how many I needed because I just assumed I would need all of them, and in the end I only needed one of them. So I have 3 spare bulbs I can use later if I have to. Alright. Think. What should I do? It's telling me to clean the car, but the car is not finished. And they're saying paint it, which of course I would have to do to deal with all the mismatched parts. Although also another thing is that that's how you deal with rust in this game. It's not how you would deal with it in real life, because you have to remove and convert the rust, replace some of the metal, and so on. But they grossly oversimplify that here. Alright, I think I'm finally going to be able to get the parts I need here. Let's see. Can I get a hood? Yes, I can get the hood. Yes, good. Alright, so now we're actually getting somewhere, although the stuff is not delivered yet, which is annoying. What should I do in the meantime is the question. What are the delivery times here we're talking about? My orders, 3 orders. It's a lot of time. What am I going to do? Sleep. That's a solution. I'll sleep and hope that some of that stuff gets delivered before I wake up. So, let's take a look at what arrived. One of the windows. See how this goes. This is the thing, they only generally allow you to look up used parts that are often dirty. You have to clean after you install them. You don't actually get new parts, even though in Car Mechanic Simulator, that's practically the default, although you also have used parts in Car Mechanic Simulator. So the hood is not here yet. The front window, or windshield, is even further in the future. So, sleep again? I don't see the alternative other than sitting around for hours, which, even if it's in game hours, is really a wasting your time. So, let's see what's arrived now. Again, this delivery system is awfully goofy, but okay, so another window. I think this is the windshield. The shape. Yes, it is. And what else? The other part? Let's see. This is... looks like the hood. Take the hood, see if I can get it installed here. There we go. I still need that mirror. That's annoying. The left mirror is missing. What else do I need here? The left mirror is missing. Well, everything else is present, even if the condition isn't wonderful. So let's order that mirror, if they'll let us do it. Heh. Luckily it's in stock. Only $1. But it will not arrive immediately. So I can wash the car now. Car isn't complete, but I can add the mirror later. Given the condition of the car, it's still not going to look very nice once cleaned off. Most of the restoration work in this game is bodywork, because the interior is generally the same condition regardless.
Engine repairs aren't really simulated at all. You just bonk it with the rubber mallet and you don't replace any parts.
So it's very, very crude. And So yeah, I mean, most of the restoration is bodywork, and not even particularly realistically done either.
You just bonk it with the mallet, wash it off, and then paint it, which is not how it works in real life. To be fair, you use a rubber mallet in real bodywork to bend things into shape, but obviously it's not a cure-all. And you paint in the end, but not in the beginning.
Whereas in this game, it always works, as long as you have the scrap. So as before, earlier in this playthrough, it is taking forever to get these parts washed off here. But I'm just going to have to deal with it here. Try to spray every square centimeter here. Both in this game and in Car Dealer Simulator, one of the things that's easy to miss is the roof. Because if you don't wash and paint the roof, it doesn't count as complete. There are autocomplete features, but that's not one of them. You have to be sure that you're cleaning the roof properly. Let's see if I can get this car painted. Again, the mirror can be handled later, but in the short term, let's get as much done on this vehicle as possible. So the paint can take a while to do. It ends up looking kind of cloudy if you don't do it properly, which is realistic. Getting the cloudiness out of spray paint on a car, if you're an amateur, is a bit of a pain in the butt. I've done it in real life, actually, touching up an old car. And I was not good at what I was doing, because I hadn't done it before. And I was using spray cans, not an airbrush like this. I wasn't doing it properly. Some of my friends also completely repainted a car with spray cans, which looked really amateurish. But the car, in their case, was so old and so beat up, they didn't want to get fancy with it. The car was on its last legs anyway. They let me drive it, and it was maybe the worst car I've ever driven in my life, possibly. But the car, like, the brakes didn't work, the steering didn't work, like, nothing worked. Everything was, like, garbage. This is the thing. In used car simulator, they are way too optimistic in some ways about how well these cars run. Even if the handling is goofy, the handling is about as bad on something in great condition as something that's disastrously bad. There are all kinds of details they could add to this, I think. And they may, you know, because it's an early access by their account, so still a work in progress. All kinds of interesting stuff could happen still. Another problem with painting in used car simulator is that your lighting is really not ideal. See, the roof needed to be painted, and I didn't see it until I climbed up on the hood, which of course you wouldn't be able to do in real life because you'd be stepping in the paint. Let's see if I can get this covered nicely. I have the color coding there, the green and the yellow and so on. I'm trying to make it all green. And if I'm very thorough, maybe I can get it to work. So it looks like, yeah, okay, the unibody just was finished. So now let's see if I can get the I guess you would call it the trunk lid or the tailgate. It's a trunk lid. It's a hatchback, not clean cut to some things. And what these words mean. Obviously, you can tell from the phony name that this is based on the Fiat Punto. Do here. The mirror is still not here. Not going to be here for a while. But basically the mirror is, I think, all I still need on this car. So if I sleep again to morning, I guess, maybe we can get something done in the morning. So get up. It says you're drying up, meaning you have to drink water. So if I go in my inventory, I drink some water.
This is not a consideration in the other 3 games I'm doing for this video. Human needs are just not part of any of them except for this one.
As I said, this reminds me a little bit of The Last Holiday or The Sims, and that you have to maintain your body as well as your cars. Have some chicken.
They don't actually have any vegetarian options in this game, even though The Sims and Minecraft and a bunch of other games do.
Let's see if we can get that mirror. I think it's gonna... Yes. We gave it more than enough time so we can install this mirror. It looks horrible now, but I can clean it up. Assemble. And get the pressure washer. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. So I guess we have to look at the car one last time, and then we take it somewhere to take photos of it, because if you're going to advertise it, just like in Car for Sale Simulator and Car Dealer, you need to take pictures for the advertisement. Let's take it somewhere with nice light out in the desert here. The handling is terrible as before, even though it's a little hatchback. Let's see what we can do here. So I get out of the car. Yeah, that looks okay. Considering the graphics in this are not 100%, this isn't so bad. The lighting on that is not very good. Let's try this way. Yeah, there we go. Is there anything else I can do? Yeah, that still doesn't look right, but I'll take it anyway. Alright, so I have 3 pictures as specified. And I can park the car and see if I can sell it. I don't think there's any vandalism simulated in this, but I'm going to park it indoors anyway.
There is vandalism in Car Dealership Simulator and in Car Dealer Simulator, and you can commit vandalism in this game too.
Back to sell a car. So now I'm the person selling. Condition is 99%. I don't know why it's not 100%. I guess it's the paint that's the issue. But I can't find what I'm supposed to paint. That's the problem. I'm going to have to just tolerate it, I guess. Alright, my price, it is above the actual value. So I will have to negotiate it. And I'll hopefully end up with the market value by the end. So I will sleep to wait for offers, because you have to wait for offers to come in on the car. So I will find the highest bidder here, and then I will go talk to them. We have 9 offers. The highest offer is $2,500. I guess I'm going to talk to this guy. Let's see if we can get us up here and onto the road and get over there. The map is small enough so you can basically jog or walk pretty much anywhere, but the cars do make it a lot faster. In my mature game, I do have a car for errands, as well as, of course, the flatbed. The flatbed is another way of doing it. It doesn't kill your wallet as much as it would in real life. Alright, let's get out on the main road here and see if we can find the customer. We've got a traffic jam here. Again, nothing on this road looks American except for the speed limit signs, if we can even find them. I'll have trouble keeping the car in the lane here. Hopefully I won't total it before I get to sell it. That would be annoying. But this customer seems to be a ways away by the standards of this game. If you add it all up, it wasn't even a mile away, but this destination feels like a long way away. Because this game, everything is so fast and everything is such a short distance, that when you have a slightly longer distance, you really notice it. Why am I out of the car here? Oh yeah, I see what it... Yeah. Yeah, okay. Well, also this gives me the chance to make this turn a little bit more easy. I'm having all this trouble with the camera controls. I don't know why I switched the lights on. I don't know even how I did that. I'll put up with it. Let's see. Let's see if we can find the customer. This is really clumsy here. Alright, so I gotta turn right. Put on the directional. Head up this little mountain road here. Huh! They have a realistic center line now. Now the road actually looks American. I guess that like they have some parts of the map that are better made than others, I guess. Yeah, the yellow center line at least. That's a realistic American feature. Yeah, this is much more realistic, and the guardrails are at least based on what we would have in America, so it's a more American looking road than any of the others we've seen so far. Those arrows there are wrong though, because in America those are yellow. And we have the European bus stop again.
I guess now we have to go find the customer.
Somewhere up by this house here, maybe? Yes. So there's the customer, and there's the parking space. Let's see if we can get the car maneuvered into place without wrecking it. Alright, so he's still offering $2,500, which is nice. He's not haggling with me. So talk. Price of the car will be the offered price, and he is okay with that. We don't have to haggle at all. So there it is, my first sale in this, and you get the idea. So I will now try Car Dealer.
So, of the 4 car dealer games that I'm looking at in this series, Car Dealer Simulator is probably the most refined, the easiest to play, most bug-free and so on, but it's also lacking in depth, as you'll see in this review and playthrough.
There's very little storyline other than that you just buy and sell cars. And you don't have the full dimension of it, which I would like to see in a game like this, like, for example, trades or financing, stuff like that, because if it's this nice, you'd think you'd have that stuff, but not so. It's very, very simple, actually. It isn't to say that it's bad.
I think it is my favorite of the 4 games I looked at. for this series.
But it is lacking in depth. On the positive side, they're adding a lot to it all the time. Now, this is the ultimate version of your office that you can build. Late game, right? So there are 4 levels of the office, and this is level 4. So there's your break room, which is also your bedroom. There's the public restroom, and this is your kitchen. The kitchen's nice, except the downside to it as of this video is that it's not usable for anything. It's just for decoration. They might add food to the game later, like in Used Cars Simulator. But right now there's no food in Car Dealer Simulator at all. This is the showroom, the ultimate version of the showroom from the level 4 office. The level 4 office comes with quite a lot. Like, this parking lot could be bigger than it is, actually. This is one of the more lackluster things. But you can sell a lot of cars at once in this. The biggest trick to it is getting enough of them together and doing them in waves, because you can't really simultaneously restore cars and sell them, which is a little bit unrealistic. A lot of that has to do with the fact that your timescale is so fast compared to some other games. That's an underground bunker for storing your cars away from vandals, of which there are many in this game. You can also add a private gas station over here to gas up your cars before selling them. This is not even the ultimate version. This is the level 2 version. And this is your warehouse for storing all kinds of things. Just you can park vehicles in here. This is a parts repair machine, basically, which is not realistic at all, but is a handy game feature. You want to salvage old parts, much like the workbench in Car Mechanic Simulator. In here, this looks like a mall, but this is in fact all of your different booths for different kinds of car restoration. This is, I think, too nice to be realistic almost, except when I worked in a garage, our facilities were almost as nice, actually. The difference was we didn't have the booths. We just had a big open space with workstations, basically, for different kinds of things we had to do to the cars. So this is your pickup truck, which you start the game with, but I've drastically restored it so it doesn't look like it did at the start of the game. That's holding the dolly there for towing cars. These car parts and fluids are not usable. They're just for decoration. Let's see what else there is here. Oh yeah, my receptionist. They're going to add more functionality to the receptionist in the near future, but for the moment she just increases your ability to sell cars just by standing there. The salaries are weird too, because you always pay them the next day before the start of work. Okay, so let's try a game from the beginning. New game. You'll see how bad the garage is when you start. Now, of course, another tricky thing I found is that the save game slots don't allow very long names. So I had to try several names with this playthrough before I was able to actually do it. So I'm recording this on the 28th of October, so you can assume that your game, if you buy this game, will be better than what I'm showing you here, because they're constantly updating Car Dealer Simulator, like more than once a week sometimes. So all of the disadvantages I'm talking about in this video could be gone by the time you try it. I have high hopes for this game. I think it's so nice already. It's such smooth gameplay and such good graphics and so many nice things about it that I think it's going places. This is the previous owner of the dealership who's teaching you how to be a car dealer.
Time to waste. Let me know when you arrive. The client's already waiting.
And they show you how to drive the car. This will also work with an Xbox controller, which is what I'm actually using. But they're explaining how to use the keyboard there. The only unrealistic thing about the driving, I would argue, is that your turn signals don't work. So you have that in Car for Sale and in Used Cars, but you don't have it in Car Dealer Simulator. Which I think is really weird, because otherwise this driving experience is really realistic compared to the other two. graphics are really nice, the dirt on the windshield is realistic, all this stuff is really, really realistic. But you don't have any directionals. You also don't have any weather either, which is a little bit lackluster. I mean, for one thing, if they added rain, there would be less sales on a rainy day because people wouldn't want to be wandering around your lot in the rain. And you might sell more cars out of the showroom on a day like that. But that's all stuff that they might add later, but they don't have now. Now I have to find my way to the garage here because I'm starting from a location that I'm not used to starting from. But there's the garage and dealership, because really they're the same thing in this game, because you do restorations and flipping. Although, as I said, they don't do anything with customers trading in their cars or needing a loan. That aspect of car dealing, in America at least, is not well simulated. Also, even though this is clearly an Eastern European game,
Good thing you're here.
I think they've modeled America a little bit better. They've made it look very, very run down, even by the standards of, I think this is supposed to be Michigan, but it's more American looking than the other two, by far.
But if you fix it right, we'll pull some cash.
He's
Don't waste
explaining
time.
what you have to do, showing you how to use the dolly, which is sitting there waiting for you. And as this illustration is showing you, you can use it with any car. Even the Vanguard there, which is the cheapest car in the game, more or less. That's maybe debatable, but it's one of the cheapest cars in the game. So I'm going to try it with the pickup truck here, which seems to be based on a 1987 Ford F-Series, more or less. It's perfectly usable. I waited till very, very late in my current game to get the flatbed, like salvage truck with the winch and everything. Because you don't really need it until you're bringing in a lot of cars. This pickup with the dolly is usually just fine until very, very late in the game. And you still need it generally to tow around cars in the garage that can't move under their own power, because the flatbed truck is too big for that, actually. So you never really want to get rid of your dolly in your pickup, or something to tow it with anyway. Okay, so I'm going to go into town here, gas the truck up at the gas station. The gas station is also unrealistically retro. First of all, because the pumps wouldn't be used in real life because they can't take credit cards, and secondly, the garage is in much worse shape than any modern garage in America, and probably most of them historically. They've made it look like absolute hell. And to be honest, even though American garages historically have been rather grungy, they're not this grungy. Especially not ones that are basically convenience stores like this one. You'd get shut down by the state, for one thing.
A lot of that would have to do with the food being sold, of course.
But I'll gloss over that for now. I'll gas up the pickup here. And there's always traffic around, always people walking around, although the interactions with them at this stage of the game's development are minimal. Mostly you just negotiate with your customers. Okay, so they're giving you a quick tutorial on how to gas up. The vintage pumps are at least interesting. I don't know if they're based on real ones, but they look convincing. But are they realistic for a modern American gas station? Well, no, because in modern times we need to be able to use credit cards and gas cards. And, yeah, these don't have any slot for them. They seem to have built in the ability to build diesel vehicles, too, as well as gasoline ones, but they haven't implemented that yet. Like, when you look up the specs of a vehicle, it says fuel gasoline, but that's all they have for the moment. They don't have any diesels, and they don't have any electrics or any hybrids. So we'll see what happens with that, whether they add those things later. I think it would be nice to see, because they each have their own levels of popularity, especially depending on the type of vehicle. So a little hatchback is likely to be a popular hybrid, but a pickup truck, maybe, maybe not. And diesels, well, diesel trucks are much more popular than diesel cars. Even if in some parts of the world diesel cars are rather popular. Slowly being displaced by hybrids and electrics. And of course you get out electrics. But right now it's all gasoline. So I'm supposed to go to the location of the car which is for sale, which I have to buy and resell. And here I've stupidly gone into the left turning lane, which is a classic American driving mistake. It happens in real life because sometimes you don't notice that it's the left turning lane. But it goes straight, I have to go into the right lane. So this is a very realistic touch. The traffic lights don't work properly. Those traffic lights are functioning. I don't know if Polish traffic lights work that way, but the American ones certainly don't, because with American ones it's always red to green to yellow to red. Never changes. They're all the same, except for the ones that are flashers, obviously. The way these operate is not realistic for America at all. Like, you would never see them operate that way. If they're going to red, they just are yellow to red, not green and yellow to red. And they don't use the yellow when turning green either. Alright, so they're giving a refresher on the dolly. And I'm going to do a little trick I've learned with this game is sometimes it makes more sense to drive around the car you're picking up first, because you can get aligned a little bit better. One unusual factor here is that you're not having to negotiate with the buyer on a price. Normally you have to do that, unless you're picking up a car which is abandoned, which is a major factor in this game, actually. There are a lot of abandoned cars you can pick up, just like in, come to think of it, Used Cars Simulator. And so it's a considerable factor in the game, because you get the cars more or less for free, because members of the public or the law enforcement or whatever tell you the car is there and ask you to just get rid of it for them. And so you get free cars. And they make the restoration in this very, very, very rudimentary and very easy. There are only a few parts in each car. It's always the same group of parts. No mechanical difference between these cars at all in terms of what you can repair. So it's very crude in that respect. Maybe because they want it to be more of a dealer simulator than a mechanic simulator, but I don't entirely agree. I think this heavy emphasis on the bodywork, which is actually pretty realistic, with a lack of realistic mechanical repairs, I think is a weakness of the game. But it's also a weakness of the other two, especially used cars. Because used cars, it's a very similar situation. Almost all the restoration is to the bodywork. And you do it with a rubber mallet, which is also kind of silly. Here you mostly do it just by replacing the parts. And weirdly enough, you don't replace the body parts. You can repair the rust on the body parts, but you never have to deal with dents. And you never have to replace doors and fenders and anything like that. In that respect, Used Car Simulator is more realistic, actually. Because an older car might need a new door, or a new windshield or something. Very likely, actually. But they don't have that simulated in this game, which is strange. Not too realistic, and I mean, otherwise this game is great in terms of realism. But the technical aspects are very, very crudely simulated, actually. Which is somewhat surprising given the quality of the game more generally. Some of the road signs are also European, I should add. The stop sign isn't, but some of the others are. It is better simulated than in Used Cars. Like the street markings are more or less correct, for example. Whereas they're not in Used Cars.
Did you pick up that beauty? Listen, don't
So
worry about the
this
mechanics, but make
version,
sure you clean it up with the pressure
the
washer,
regular
and that
full
will get
version
fixed.
of
Remember,
Car
it's gonna
Dealer
sell.
Simulator,
It needs to shine.
has a very simple first quest, to use the term from Used Cars. So you just have to take this car, wash it, take pictures, and sell it. The demo version is actually a little bit trickier, because you have to fix the muffler and do other things more elaborate than this. But the first task or quest or what have you is very easy, actually, in the full version. So, for example, the car runs already. So all you have to do is just get out of the pickup truck, get in the car, drive it over to the pressure washer here, wash it off, and you're more or less done until you sell it. I'll show you the rest, of course. I'll show you everything through the first sale here. But it will add up to literally less than half the time that I had to put into used cars, because the storyline is so much simpler. So this is one of these pressure washers where you cover the whole car in foam and then rinse it off. So this is not how every one of these washers works, but it is how some of them work. And I guess for the purpose of a game, it works a little bit better than some of the other options. In my family, we tend to use floor cleaner, actually, if I'm being honest. If it's not too harsh, it works. But this is a different way of doing it. So, at the beginning of the game, you just have the foam, obviously, cover the car with, and you have water to rinse it off. In later stages of the game, you get to use wax. And you can't really max out the value of these cars unless you wax them, actually. How realistic is that? Who knows? But it's probably realistic in the sense that if you put a waxed car that's spotlessly clean on display, it's more likely to sell and for a higher price than something that's dirty. Or even scruffy, shall we say. So, by habit, I would normally drive right into the garage here, but in this case, because this is not the demo, this is the full version, you don't have to do any mechanical work on the car. You just pull it right up into a parking space marked right there by the little pin. You take pictures and then you put it on sale. Now, as they're showing you here, there are specific standards you have to meet. You have to get certain objects on the car into the frame when you take the picture to get the points, which then make the car more sellable for a higher price. Is that realistic? It's very debatable. But that's effectively what you need. When you get the photo booth later in the game with the level 4 office, the pictures look horrible from a human standpoint, but in the game, it's a very quick and dirty way to get the photos you need, which will give you maximum value, actually, even if it looks terrible to a human. All right, so see, I gotta click. I get those blue eyeballs on that side. I get the blue eyeballs on this side. Click again. Now I'm all done. I can use those photos in the ad. So, you can use your tablet, or you can use the vintage, more or less, PC in the office. The office, of course, looks old and beat up. But if you go to the PC, you go on a website, a fictional one, where they sell cars. You start your own ad, add the photos, and then you set the price. So this is the market value, and you want to go way above that so you can haggle down. Most of the guides I've read said that you want that bar to be green instead of blue. That way it's a nice happy medium between blue, which is very cheap, and yellow, which is relatively expensive. You post the ad, and of course another thing to note, of course, is that if you want to buy cars that are in decent shape and not scrap, you can buy them there. You have to go pick them up yourself, but otherwise you can buy cars for resale on that website. Okay, and then of course I have to click the closed sign to an open sign there so that people actually come to my dealership. I only have this one car for sale, but somebody will eventually show up and buy it. Now, if we just explore the grounds here a bit, you can see how much cruder it is at the start of the game from later. Level 2 of the office is just the same office, but with the garbage cleaned up. That's how nasty it is, actually. They don't start expanding the office in a meaningful way until level 3, when you get your first showroom, and then after that you get the big fancy level 4 dealership with the palm trees and all this other stuff that's kind of ridiculous, actually. But functionally is fantastic. This level 1 dealership only has crudest of the crude options for you. And in the early stages, your different facilities, like your mechanical workshop, your body shop, which you get later, and so on, are all upgraded individually. They aren't all united like that in the beginning. Okay, so they're explaining haggling to you, or negotiations. So this guy is going to try and ask to buy the car for less than the list. Of course he will. And so I offer something in between. So instead of $4,800, I offer him $4,750. He still won't offer me what I want, so I drop it another $50. He still wants something cheaper, so I go down to $4,650, which is roughly the market value, and he still doesn't want to go, so I reject it. This woman comes along, she wants to make a go, and she just buys it outright. She doesn't want to haggle. These customers are always the best, obviously.
Well, kid,
Goes without saying, right? But they're easier to get if you keep the car price low,
Keep it up.
as far as I can tell.
The higher your reputation,
And so in this
the
case,
thicker
I
your
went with the lowest price that would give me the green bar.
For, right?
But that's about it, really.
You've earned
We did
your
the first
rep
sale,
today. Tomorrow, I'll show
and
some
you see how
tricks
this
of the
works. It's
trade.
very simple, but it's, I think, the
Early bird
most
catches the
refined of
worm.
these games in terms of gameplay and smoothness and graphics and all this. I really hope to see them upgrade it in the near future. Yeah, I'm just doing a little bit of exploring the office, but you can see how awful this is. Now, of course, you end the game day, by going to sleep, and here you have this filthy, disgusting sofa in your level 1 break room here. Yeah, this is gross. They've added, I guess that's a CB, or it's what's supposed to be a CB radio. To kind of be stereotypical. Here's your storage room, which is a disaster area. And garbage everywhere in the halls. Your disgusting bathroom, which isn't really used for anything in this game, unlike used cars. And I don't know what else there is to see here. The mechanical workshop is horrendous, of course. Weirdly enough, they have all these abandoned, like, I don't know, 1990s, early 2000s pickups everywhere, and I haven't seen one that's functioning yet. Maybe they'll build a usable version eventually. You can get scrap cars from these sort of amateur, unofficial junkyards all over the map. Becomes your body shop eventually, right there.
This car under the tarpaulin is another mystery. You don't get to work on that either.
Looks like a Prius, possibly. Maybe a Toyota Prius, but I can't even tell that. Yeah. I think there's all kinds of potential in this. Like, for example, making those 90s or early 2000s pickups drivable. So that's it for this.
Okay, so now a playthrough of Car Dealership Simulator 2, which I never originally planned on doing. There's the quad fix splash. And we might as well just jump into the game I already have, because it's neither mature nor new. But at this stage, the game is fairly rudimentary. It's still in early access, still in the first open beta, so it's very simple compared to what it will be, probably. I'm using my old microphone again, too, because I'm not 100% convinced the new one is better. So here I am in my bedroom, in my house, as I already have an established dealer. Nothing in the house so far is functional. This will probably change in subsequent versions of the game, so I have my Eastern European style coat rack there, and I have this multi-purpose room which isn't entirely clear what it's supposed to be. I have a theory this will become your garage. And kitchen. As in most of the other games, this one is non-functional. The walls are like bare concrete too. I think that's probably going to be changed. Or maybe you'll be given the option of getting some wallpaper or something. This grungy room probably will become the bathroom, but right now it's just empty. And if we go out into the yard, I have this gravel driveway, which you can put cars in. But I don't actually have a car for myself yet in this game. The bus service is so good, why would you have it? Actually, the funny thing is that the bus service is another carryover from some of the other games, like Car for Sale and Used Car Simulator. It's funny how these car for sale games or car dealership games have such nice public transport, actually. The only one that doesn't have it so far is Car Dealer Simulator, which, as I said, is my favorite so far. Now, because this is a game I'm already playing, I have some cars already for sale in the dealer lot. I have 3. I don't know if this dealership is really designed for 3 cars. My sense is it's only designed for 2. But you can sell 3 cars at once. These are license plates that don't really work. Again, early access, right? So, what else have we got here? Well, we have the showroom, which can hold 1 or 2 cars. We have this computer, which works like in the other games. You could put up advertisements for cars that probably will just end up in your dealer. There's no online sales just yet in this version of the game. I expect they'll probably add that, but I don't know. And if you open the shop, just like in the other games, you can start selling. And if you close... Why is this not working? There we go. So, yeah, once you open the shop, you're ready for business. I have my broom in the hands there. If you hit the 2 key, you can use the broom to clean up the shop, which you will occasionally have to do. Customers, for the moment, can walk through glass. I don't know what's up with that. I think it's just oversimplifying it in the beginning. And you can haggle, but in this case, she doesn't want to haggle at all. She just wants to go buy the car. So that's easy for me. They jump the cars out to the street so that they don't interfere with your dealer layout. And I have 2 more to sell. These are, of course, based on real cars, but they don't use the real names, because I guess licensing issues again. Let's see if I can sell to this guy here before I continue. So, he wants to haggle, but he's not being very demanding. They do force you to do a counter bid. You can't do the option of just accepting his bid. You have to counter bid. And I'm going to take, because he's generous. So I still have that lotta there waiting to be sold. They don't call it a lotta, but it's clearly what it is. So, yeah. This is not very developed yet. Let's haggle with her. We'll see if we can sell the lotta here. Well, she's not being as generous. I'm going to counter bid, and I think she's not going to give me a good bid. So I'm not going to accept this. I'm going to cancel, which is the same as rejecting, and wait for another customer. Weirdly enough, I actually like this, but it's not in line with what you see in the game. You don't generally sell trucks. You only sell cars. You don't sell vans. You don't sell commercial vehicles. It's all cars. And I like that, actually. However, having said that, if you go to the car trader, that's really the reason. The car traders dealing in used cars will only deal in cars and very small SUVs. All the trucks are from the other dealerships, the rival dealerships. So he's still giving me a terrible bid. I think I'm still going to reject him. But I'll give him a nicer offer, and he still is not giving me anything. Yeah, the thing is you have several rival dealers, and you can buy cars from them, but the problem is you're buying retail. Some people try to make a profit buying from those dealers very unrealistically and trying to resell them. Sometimes that can actually work in this game because the economic model is still in its infancy, but that's obviously not the way you run a dealership. I'm looking forward to them adding other options for obtaining cars wholesale, because right now the pickings are a little bit slim. He is still not offering me a good deal. I'm going to try and bargain him here, but I don't think this is going to work. No, it's not going to work. Yeah, I will sell this car, but it's going to take me a few attempts. I'm opening the doors to the showroom here to show how that works. However, I think I won't move the car because just like in some of these other games, if you move the car from one location to another in a dealership, you have to repost the ad and reset everything. I don't want to do that. One other thing is this character keeps appearing again and again, and the characters in general appear again and again, like Car Dealer Simulator. Oh, she's just giving me the full price. Cool. The thing is they have not gone with any kind of AI or template of character design. It's just the same several characters again and again, just like Car Dealer Simulator, which is, I guess, again, early access, right? I just closed my dealer, and now I'm going to go to one of the car traders to show how you buy used cars to replace the ones that you sold. So you have the car markets, which are a lot like these, car auction places in real life, although in this case they don't simulate the auction. You just haggle with the individual sellers for individual cars, which again is maybe only part realistic. And you have to pick something that you think will be profitable if you clean it up a little bit. Again, that is not simulated in a very sophisticated way in this game. But, something like a sports car, this is obviously based on the Honda S2000. That one's one of the more profitable ones, actually. This is supposed to be based on a BMW 5 Series, of course. There are several that can make you a lot of money. But in terms of the cars in the game, you only get a handful of them on these car markets. And I think that's something they could improve upon. If they think this is too down market for the really fancy stuff, they should probably come up with some other option, like auctions or, like Sotheby's type stuff, or maybe online selling. Because this is only part of the picture. I think they could develop this far better. Because this is clearly based on a BMW M3, but that's about as high-end as you go. And it's not even the highest-end thing they have, actually. The most expensive car I've found that they're making you cope with as like your nicest potential model is a Toyota Supra, actually. From the 90s, too, not like one of the more recent ones. So it's kind of weird in that way. You'd think they'd have better options. I'm going to buy this anyway. I have to buy something to sell, right? So I'm going to haggle with this guy. And I think I'll take it. So I have that car. This, maybe I'll buy it? Nah. I've decided not to. That's obviously based on a Golf GT. So it's one of the higher end ones. They're surprisingly expensive in this, somewhat unrealistically so. 5 Series, no. This is, it's obvious that they mean this to be an Opel Astra, but it looks more like a Vectra to me. I'd have to look at photos of the real thing. So I guess it's supposed to be an Astra. Those are nice to begin with because you can get them for a really low price. And you can reliably sell them really easily, because just like in real life, this is the kind of thing that people will buy, at least in Europe. So I bought it. And I have another one here. These are reliable sellers, it's just as that there's nothing glamorous about them, just like real life. Oh, he's the wrong guy. Yeah. This is the guy selling the Opel. Okay. So, if I... he's not bargaining down too much, but I'll buy it anyway. Like I said, you don't usually go wrong buying them. It's just that they don't give you a huge amount of money either. They just give you some money. Alright, so I'll take the BMW here. Take it back to the dealer. However, I'm going to take it to the mechanic first, because you don't have your own garages in this. You always have to outsource to somebody. And there are these tuning shops that double as repair shops. The downside is that they don't do very much with tuning. You can change the rims, and you can repaint, and that's about it at this stage of the open access, early access. Excuse me. And I've done both, but I am not impressed. I don't think I'm supposed to be. I think they intend to do a lot more with this. So you can service it. The mechanical aspect of these cars is at the moment very, very crudely simulated. Basically, as you drive the car, you use up oil and coolant, which is only partly realistic, and your overall condition decreases, but they don't do it part by part. You don't get to change a camshaft or, change a head or anything like that. Everything in this is bone stock and then abstracted out. So it's not really tuning, not really. They'll hopefully add more to that. Oops. My driving is not great. I'm not going to blame the game for my bad driving. However, here I'm driving like an idiot. See this? I'm driving like I'm from Florida. It looks like it could be Florida, actually. They haven't said where this is supposed to be set, although the signage is in English, so possibly Florida. I don't know. As I said before, the traffic lights are American. The street markings are a combination of American and European. The signage isn't really there, so the signage doesn't count. As I said, the developers were Turkish, and I've never been to Turkey, so I don't know if this looks anything like Turkey. Some of the photos look like they're from at least Greece, so that would mean probably it looks like it's from Turkey. But, yeah. Anything to do with that is my educated guessing and speculation. I don't know what they're trying to do with location here. They might be trying to make it generic to make the game as appealing to as wide a range of people as possible. The city is very, very crudely modeled compared to the cars, certainly. Like, even the facilities, like that tuning shop, are very, very crudely modeled compared to some games. It seems like they're very focused here on, just the car selling aspect. And of course, they're in early access. So if they're in early access, they're not going to be doing anything particularly interesting aside from debugging. Here you can send it straight to your dealer, straight to storage. There we go. So it just disappears and I have to find my way home some other way. But that's handy because you don't put wear and tear on the car that way on the way back to the dealer. Because the wear and tear builds up in these cars so fast, unrealistically so, that if you've done a full restoration or a full, let's say, cleanup of a car for sale, you can lose a lot of that on the drive home, if in fact you're going to drive it manually. So I would recommend, when you can, use that straight to the dealer option, because otherwise you're screwing yourself over, generally. Now, luckily, the car market is right next to the garage and right next to the car wash. So, I can take one of those Opels, drive it to the garage or the tuning shop, and then drive it to the car wash. However, having said that, I will have to manually drive it back to the dealership because I found there's a bug in the early access game where if you try to send two of them back, they pile them on top of each other and then they crash. So that's something that they'll probably work out in the updates. I'm not going to judge them for it at this stage. But yeah, that's the workaround. If you're driving the early access versions of these cars, you cannot just send them both straight to the dealer like that. They'll pile on top of each other, unfortunately. So I'm going to lose some value on this Opel on the drive home, but it's a cheap car anyway. That's the idea. This one will be mostly easy to sell. Now, of course, this tuning shop is set up a lot like a nightclub or like a, I don't know, some kind of entertainment venue with the bar and everything. Of course, having a bar in a car repair place is a little bit funny, actually. That's like actual alcohol bottles simulated there, so that's kind of silly. But there's not a lot to do here other than work on the car, actually. They haven't added anything else to it yet. So I'll just do the service, which is much cheaper on a cheaper car, just like real life. And will I do anything else to this? Should I change the rims? It's an option. I could change the rims. Yes, let's do that. And that will slightly improve the value of the car without making it, like, unattainable for people. So I have a slightly sportier version of the Opel here. I'll take it for the car wash, even though it looks kind of clean already. They haven't done a very realistic dirt model in this game yet. We'll probably see one in the subsequent updates. But for right now, it's done in this very rudimentary way. So it's hard to tell even whether you're supposed to be washing a car or not. I always wash them because in that little car wash there, it only costs $100 per wash, which in this game is not a lot of money, even though in real life I would not spend $100 on a car wash. Actually, you can also wash the cars with a little pressure washer that's on the dealer lot, but I've found that it's very slow and very clumsy in the current implementation. I've gotten in the habit of using this car wash because the car wash is simulated in a way that makes it much more usable. And as I said, they bill you $100 in-game, but it's not enough to kill the value of the car at all. It's really insignificant. Really, going to the mechanic to clean the car up mechanically costs a lot more, especially with the more expensive cars, actually. This Opel is affordable, but some of the BMWs are not. And the Supra is kind of expensive too, understandably, because it's the most expensive car you can buy used in the current incarnation of the game. So, let's see what we got here. To wait and wait and wait, this will eventually finish, and I will be able to drive this car back to the dealer. Alright, one other thing I should note, if you think my driving looks horrible, a factor in this also is that right now there's no controller support, so everything you see me doing here is with the keyboard, which is very clumsy. It's especially clumsy because modern driving... See, I even ran over the curb there. Modern driving games are realistic enough so that you can control the throttle realistically. But that doesn't work with a keyboard. So here it's all on or all off. So either I floor it or I have no throttle. And so it's very, very clumsy. It does work a little bit better with the lower performance cars. But with the higher end stuff like the Supra, it's really, really, really messy. They even have a city driving mode, which I assume is to make that a little bit easier, but I've found that even in arcade mode, the keyboard does not work very well with this game. I'm really looking forward to them adding, full controller support with the graduated throttle, like in a real car. Because this doesn't work well in a modern video game. Maybe in the 80s with Test Drive it sort of worked. It doesn't work with a modern driving game. You really need that modern throttle control. And I still like the control pads or the joysticks that are on the modern controllers over keys on a keyboard for steering. I mean, obviously a steering wheel would be best, but I'm self-conscious about putting a fake steering wheel in my flat as a 40-something-year-old adult. That just seems really pathetic. I'm not going to do that, even if I'm a gamer. But games controllers, yeah, I'd much rather use them than a keyboard. So that BMW is parked there, just right. And I'm actually parking, I am just inside of the sale area. Now, one of the weird bugs, too, is they leave your headlights on when you shut the engine off. So you have to go back in and shut the headlights off, which I find irritating. All right, so now I'm going to take my pictures, just like in the other games. These will, just like in the other games, go in the advertisements for these cars on the internet, which you are required to have to sell them in your dealership. I don't know how realistic that is, but it's probably what you would do in practice. So, just like the other games, I'm going to put these cars into online advertisements, then park them in an appropriate place. Actually, I'm wondering if one of these should go in the showroom. I don't know. can repost the ads, of course. I'm feeling lazy right now, though. Let's just figure out the prices. Nicely enough, they give you an estimate of what will sell. So if that number over on the far left turns green, it's possible to sell at that price, and it gives you the amount of profit you're making. If it's red with a positive, it means that you're overcharging and nobody's going to buy it, like that. If it's in the negative, like over on the right there with the opal, then it means you are not charging enough. You're not making a profit. So I just go price by price until I find the most expensive price that will sell. So that's that in that case. So for the opal, we take a picture and add it. Try to figure out the price. Luckily, because I haggled this one down, I will be able to sell for a decent price to make a profit, although it looks like it's not going to be as much as I thought it was going to be. Okay, I'm not going to get $10,000 out of it, but it is a used car after all, and not a fancy one. Okay, now it's already getting dark because the time scale is very fast in this game. You know, I am going to put this in the showroom. I went to do that earlier. I was lazy about it. I'm going to do it. Because why not? I don't know if it improves the sellability of the car the way it does in Car Dealer Simulator. I don't actually know that. It's just the principle of it. This is the fancy one. It should go in the showroom, right? Okay, so I'm going to back it up, try and get it in with the front facing out, which in real life would have given an advantage probably in sales, but I don't know if it would help here. I just want to do it. So I've backed in. Camera's screwing up. I'll shut these doors anyway. Switch the lights on in here too, which are of course manually controlled, which is interesting. All right, I have to repost the ad. It's for sale, same price. Boom. All right. Maybe display it with the lights on. I have seen that done with electric cars in particular, because they figure if it's plugged into the wall, nothing's going to go dead, right? I don't know if it's really realistic here, but... All right, so... I'll go back to the car market, and I'll get one more car, if I can. Yes, because I also had this opal. We'll see if it fits in the dealer or not. I do want to have it cleaned up and ready for sale, one way or the other. I'm not going to buy another car tonight. I mean, yeah, and I mean, if you look at my bank balance up in the upper right, even if I want to buy a fourth car for the dealership, I have to sell some others first, so it's not going to happen this round. So we see what we can do with this again. Service it, luckily very cheap. Look at the rims again. See if there's anything that could actually make it a more desirable car here. Probably they all would. So it's becoming about my personal taste here. I'll buy those, maybe. Yes. Let's do this. Okay, so not very expensive. I don't know how much they're going to drive up the value, but let's at least experiment a little. And do I want to leave? I guess I will. Still going to need to take it to the car wash because it is too dirty to sell at the moment. But that dirt model doesn't look very realistic. They're going to have to work on that, I think. Of course, the graphics in general are just good enough to play at the moment. They're not particularly good graphics more generally. They're kind of comparable to car for sale simulator, although I would venture to say they're a little bit better. I mean, they could work on the signage and stuff like that, but this is, especially the lighting is quite nice. Some of the lighting is a little bit too favorable. It's a little bit too easy to see in the dark. But speaking more generally, I like this, even if the night lighting is maybe a little bit too bright. So we'll run the car wash again. This car wash is implemented in kind of a weird way in that the only way to switch it on is by getting out of the car. I don't know if that's the intention of the developers to stick with that long term. I've never used a car wash exactly like this in real life. I've always either used the spray gun ones where you do it yourself or the fully automated ones that, drag your car through. I've never actually used one where you drive it in and try to set it up like this. I guess maybe it is realistic if in fact you have to be away from the brushes and everything. You could drive it in, walk out, press the button, pay your money. And then when it's done, drive your car back out once the brushes are retracted. I guess that's a workable system. But I've never actually worked on a real car wash like that, so I don't know how realistic that is or whether that's even what you would want. And I don't know what the developers' long-term intentions are. Alright, let's try and get this Opel back to the dealership. But I will not torment you with another round of sales. I'll see if I can park this and set it up for sale. And that will be the end of the playthrough, I suppose. Alright, I had to make my second attempt on the lights there, and now I have to take a picture. Night photography works just fine in this game, so you don't have to take pictures of the cars in the daylight. Car Dealer Simulator, in fact, doesn't have this feature. It's much harder to get a picture of your car at night in Car Dealer Simulator unless you take it indoors and try to get an indoor picture. In Car Dealership Simulator, including Car Dealership Simulator 2 at least, you can take the car indoors and switch the lights on, or you can take pictures of it outside under the street lights, or just wait till the daytime. It doesn't matter. Now this car, I'm hoping I might get a little more money out of it, but I don't know about that. Yeah, the mods are not helping me as much as I hoped they would. I might actually end up with similar price to the other one. Okay, 9,500 it will sell. Will it do 600? Let's see if somebody will buy it for 600. Okay, good. 9,700? Yes. And 9,800? Nope. It's exactly the same price as the other one, even though... Well, I mean, on the positive side, it's much higher mileage, right? Much higher kilometers. So I'm not getting ripped off, really. I end up with less profit margin because I paid more for it, but oh well. What am I going to do? So, yeah. This is more or less what I wanted to show you. So I actually can't sell the cars late at night. They cut off the sales somewhat realistically. I think the cutoff time is 7 o'clock in the evening for 1900 hours. I will, in any case, leave the lights on here. I don't think it makes a difference for security. You have to deal with vandalism in this game, but not theft. And just like in Car Dealer Simulator, it only really happens when you're there, which is kind of unrealistic. But, yeah, anyway. This house has lights, but I haven't switched them on. Let's see if I can find the lights here. There we go. So the house has lights. Basic ones. And I have my bedroom here. I could sleep the night and get back to selling in the morning. Weirdly enough, the clock stops at 2300 hours. So you could basically spend an almost unlimited time at 2300 hours at night. And it will never become morning. But that's it. Thanks for watching.